Hey, everybody, and welcome to Boss Talks. I'm your host, Evan Happel. I am the Director of Marketing with Community Boss, and I have a great guest today, episode 122, Mindy Price. I know her from back when she was with Jay Turner. She was doing Multifamily Leaders podcast, and I was actually on her show. That's kind of how I got introduced to her. She was a great host. It was a great time. I think it was either the first or second podcast I ever had been on, and I haven't really been on a lot since, even though I host my own thing, obviously. But she's a great host. She is very professional and did a great job while she was doing it. I don't think she's doing it anymore, but she's off on her own doing other things. So she's plenty busy and also flexible because she's having fun doing rodeos and stuff right now. Doing the Texas thing, as I told her. It sounds like barbecue and everything is in her life right now, which is super fun. And I'm very jealous of her weather right now because it's cold here. But super excited to get into it with Mindy. But before I do, again, Evan Happel with Community Boss. We have a great solution for you when it comes to your parking and amenity needs. And if you need a map, we can also do that for you. But if you want to generate any revenue through your physical spaces, we definitely can help you monetize that and make it also a better place to live for your residents. So if you have any questions, let me know and I will answer them. But today it's about Mindy. So let's get to it.
Hello, everybody, and thank you so much, Evan. I was definitely laughing about the rodeo comments because I think we have a nationwide audience, and oftentimes you think of Texas and you think of rodeo, or I've asked this question. You did not know this because I did not know you were going to talk about rodeo. But two things. I'll come back to rodeo. But one, okay. So I can remember when I first started traveling nationally in multifamily, and I would ask the question of folks, and I wonder what you think about it. So there's a slogan that we say here in Texas, which is "Don't mess with Texas." Now, right. Evan, do you know how that slogan came about, or what it really means, or tell me what you think.
I don't know, but I know the slogan.
Okay. So to put you on the spot, what does your mind think when you hear "Don't mess with Texas"?
I mean, I feel like it's kind of confrontational.
So I would be on airplanes and I would ask individuals that question. And I would say, well, what is it? What do you think? They're like, oh, you ride your horses and you have your guns blazing and all this. Y'all. Notice how I said y'all. It's a don't litter campaign, an anti-litter campaign.
Serious?
Yes. Yes. Don't mess with Texas. Don't litter.
Oh my gosh.
Another funny fact, side note, y'all. So when I first started speaking nationally outside of Texas, I had to train myself because I was told that I would sound unintelligent if I used the word y'all. Yeah. So talked to a lot of folks. I was like, okay, what can I use instead of y'all? And I settled on you guys because I'm talking to an audience. You guys understand what I'm talking about. Well, then a few years ago, Evan, I was told I can't say you guys because I might offend somebody because they don't want to be generalized. So guess what my PR agency told me to use?
Y'all.
So I am back to embracing y'all. And then rodeo, we're getting all these Texas fun facts out.
Let's do it.
It is the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo is huge around Texas. And yes, we have a world championship rodeo. You get to go to it. We have this huge carnival, and then we have concerts. Well, when I first started volunteering, it was to get free tickets to the concerts because I was a broke kid working in multifamily. And now, when I realized why I started volunteering, Evan, the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo, we give away millions of dollars worth of scholarships to graduating seniors every single year. And that's huge. So knowing you're having a big impact on our youth and the volunteer hours that we have and everything that we put into it, there have been years, because I've been involved for about 20 years, I don't even go to the concerts unless it's something my kids want to see or my husband wants to go to. There have been years I have not made it because it's literally about showing up for your shift, taking care of business so that you know that you're impacting our future. So there you go. A little bit of Texas today.
Nice. No, I appreciate it. It's always nice to learn about other places you don't live. I've visited Texas a number of times, but um, yeah. And in fact, apartment life where I used to work was based in Dallas, is still based in Dallas. And so I'd been there quite a few times while with them. So yeah, I definitely, but that was my first time when I went with to visit them. And when I got to Dallas, I was like, holy cow, it's funny to go to different places because there are cultural differences, right? Like
Yes.
it's not the same everywhere.
So growing up, so I live in a small town outside of Houston, about 45 minutes south of Houston. Those Houstonites around, we joke around and say, I'm in Mexico and everybody in the woodlands is north, they're in Canada. Um, but growing up so Angleton, Brazoria County, working in the big city in Houston, I thought everything was the same. Well, whenever I left Houston to go, and I was training director for Trammell Crow in Dallas when Trammell Crow was still around all those years ago, I thought, I've got this. Everybody's going to be the same as what I'm used to down south. Oh, it was so different. It was a
Yeah.
big culture shock how different Houston and Dallas are. And I love my Dallas friends. And, I was able to figure out how to fit in and make things work and bring a splash of Mindy to it. But Houston and Dallas and Austin, they're all very different.
Yes. Which is crazy because it's like, and I mean, they're pretty far apart. Like, it's kind of like me going down to Portland, Oregon.
Yeah.
It's like, it's 2 hours, 2.5 hours, 3 hours away. And it's like, I don't ever go there, you know? So it's no different because you guys are about the same distance, right? So, or even farther in some
Further.
cases. Yeah.
Austin's a little closer, 2.5, 3 hours. I was actually there a few weeks ago for TAA board meetings, Texas Apartment Association. Dallas for me is about 4 hours
Yeah.
driving. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. 4 hours is a long ways. So it's
Texas is a
enough
big
to,
state too.
yeah. And it's enough to not go there, you know, like, because it's just far enough drive where you're like, unless I need to, why would I make that drive?
Yeah,
So,
I'll typically fly to Dallas for work stuff just because it's a long
yeah.
drive, unless I'm into a really good podcast or, I'm binging yours.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I'm not binging yours. That,
Yeah.
it's good
No.
stuff. I saw your post on LinkedIn about all the episodes that you're going to be putting out on the different.
Yeah, I got behind, so I'm trying to be better
Those are
because
some
I
great
usually,
guests.
well, and I have always done this live, so it's like, okay, there's still a recording out there. People can still consume it, but the podcast version, unless I do the editing and stuff, it does not live. So, I've gotten back to it. And I'm in the near future, I'm about to host it somewhere, which should make it even easier to get to. So, that'll be good. So that's going to be a later announcement.
Yeah. Whenever I had my podcast with Jay Turner Research, multifamily leaders, it wasn't live and it wasn't video. It was only audio. And
Right.
now they have one, they've renamed it and they do video with it. And, I've been on the radio and I recently was on the radio, didn't have a podcast. And so this is new. This is actually my first live podcast.
Is it?
It is.
Okay.
As a guest too, not a host. So
Yes.
thanks,
Yes.
Evan.
Yeah. No, I'm glad to have you. Super glad to have you. Oh, and we got a yeehaw. I don't know if you're noticing the comments far right. If you hit comments, you'll see people as they chime in.
I love it. Yeehaw, Natalie Pilkington.
Well, before we get into it any further, I have a few questions I'd like to ask, and then we'll get right into all things Mindy. So, all right. First question I like to ask is just around the topic of parking. Funny enough, when I was on your show, we talked about parking. Mm-hmm. So just like to know any personal stories, anecdotes, opinions you have about parking.
Okay. So I love thinking about parking from this context because parking can be incredibly frustrating when you don't have a spot. And so my mom and I, when she was alive, we loved to go shopping. And this was years ago. And when we would go, there would always, it seemed like we would get really lucky and there would be a parking spot really close to the front of so front row or somewhere really close. And every time when she would pull in, she was like, oh, they knew we were coming. And so it's just one of those things that I do with my boys. And my husband just kind of laughs at me. But when I don't have a parking spot, Evan, they don't know I'm coming. Like, what's up with that?
Why didn't they clear a spot and put down the red carpet?
Yes. And then one thing that does drive me crazy is, but should probably go negative, but I'll say it just in case somebody hears this. My dad, before he passed away, we had a handicap parking spot for him because he was having some trouble with his leg. And we were somewhere and somebody knew that I had that parking spot, that parking tag. And they're like, oh, just use that. We'll get up front. I was like, no, I will not do that. I will never do that. I do not appreciate people that do that. I don't think it should be done. Yeah. Anyway, so I like my fun anecdote better than, that one, but that is actually a huge pet peeve of mine.
Oh yeah, me too. When I understand there's different kinds of disabilities, and sometimes I'm like, so do they give it away to anybody for any reason, or is it only if it's a physical reason? Because sometimes I see people and I'm like, really, are you?
Well, and you know what? I try not to judge. It's just if it's assigned to you for whatever your personal reason is, great. You have a legit legal reason to have it. If you're using someone else's and that someone else isn't with you, I just don't think that's right. That's my personal opinion. Just like your disclaimer says, the opinions.
Yeah. No, that's legit. Yeah, that's messed up because somebody's going to come up there that needs it. And you're obviously using the space. So yeah, I agree with that statement. That's messed up. All right. Well, thanks for answering. And then, and actually, do you have anything from your time? You were way back when in leasing and all that, and also did all the research related things with Jay Turner. Was there anything otherwise that you remember from those different instances?
Even just as recently as, we think about when my previous company and we were raising money and buying properties, we would look at how much parking a property had, because you can't, in some cases you can create more parking. Like we did have examples of where we were able to with different land. However, parking is a big deal. And we think about maintenance will make somebody move. Customer service will make somebody move, and lack of parking will make somebody move. So those things haven't changed. There's a lot of things changing with AI and with all the, conveniences that we have, but parking packages, these are things that are big deals.
Yeah. I think it's in the top 10. It might be number 9 in the recent list I saw. Okay. Parking was number 9 reason to get people to move out. So pay attention, people.
Yes, pay attention. I went to an event. I did a vision board night for Century AC. They had me come in and run that for them. My first gig actually is Mindy from Inside the Y. It was really cool. Nice. And when I got there, the gate was closed and there were some parking spaces that were marked for leasing. And it was about 30 minutes before the office closed. And I was like, my heart started pounding. I can't park in that spot. I'm not a future resident. I can't park there. I didn't know where to go. So I turned my car off because where I was at, I was like, I don't want it getting stolen, but not that the place was bad. It's just leaving your keys in your car and having it on is not smart. Yeah. So I jumped out of my car really quickly. I ran inside. I said, hey, this is who I am. I'm in this spot. Where do you want me to park? And they're like, Mindy, you're fine. Thank you for letting us know. But I was like, that's such a no-no. You don't do that. Supplier partners, when you're going out to visit, don't park in the reserved space for the leasing office.
Yeah. Yeah. Alternatively, maybe have a spot for suppliers or people that are serving your community. Because there's always somebody there doing something for you. And if they don't know where to park, they're going to park in a bad space, they're going to do that anyways. Mark your parking spots is, I guess, the moral of the story. It's a good thing to do. All right. Next question. I like to ask, when it comes to music, what do you listen to motivate you, maybe get you up and going? What's a song or artist that you're kind of your go-to?
Okay, go ahead and roll your eyes, my friends. But I have a playlist that before I go on and I speak, if they don't have music
Okay.
already going, that I like to plug in. And one that just makes me smile and I look out in the audience is from Trolls,
Okay.
Can't Stop the Feeling. Like it
Yeah.
just makes me happy,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So
Who sings that? Is that
Justin Timberlake, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And then Pharrell's Happy is
Oh
another
yeah.
one that's on that
That's
list.
already on my maybe even Can't Stop the Feeling. So I have a playlist for all my
Okay.
guests.
Uh-huh.
I keep adding to it. Happy's on there. And Can't Stop the Feeling might be on there, but if not, I will add it.
It'll make you smile.
Yes.
Another one that's on there is, and I don't know who it's by. What is it? Shut Up and Dance.
Okay.
That's the name of it.
Well, I'll look it up. I'm sure. Do you know who sings it?
I should. Here's what's so funny. Growing up, my mom told me I was never supposed to say the word "shut up." It's a bad word. And so even when I
Right.
just said it now, I was like, "Oh, it's
Yeah,
a
you
fun song."
kind of feel like you're cussing. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I feel that. I
What's
think
on
it's
yours, Evan?
music.
Yeah.
Happy is a song that I've always really liked. There's another song that I'm blanking on right now that I always find myself humming. And one day I was like, what song am I even humming right now? So that was always funny. But I finally figured it out. And in fact, I found out by humming into my phone, if you turn it on the Google app or something, you can hum into your phone and it'll guess what song you're even referring to. And that's how I found out what song that
Oh
was.
wow.
But yeah, no. So Happy is a song that I've always really liked.
So one song that's not on that particular playlist, only because of what I'm about to tell you, but Cody Johnson's Till You Can't. It's a
Okay.
country song, but what's really
Okay.
cool about it, it talks about, chasing after your dreams and going after things. And, I heard it and I was just like, oh my gosh, that is such a great song. And actually there's a verse in there. It says, take that phone call from your mama.
Oh, okay.
Because one day you might not be able to. Well, unfortunately, my mom passed 2 years ago in June, and we actually played that at the end of her services. And everybody was in tears. Like I'm fighting them back right now, thinking about it.
Yeah.
But I think of her in that way, but then I think of the message in the song. And anybody that's just looking for inspiration, when you hear it's like, whoa, what really is holding me back? It's a good one to add to. Check it out.
Yeah. All right. I'll add that. That one's for sure not on there. So that'll make it in.
Okay. You'll have to text me or, just tell me you're like, okay, I like it.
Yeah. No, I've been actually going back to my list now that I got these songs and listening to it. And it's funny. I'm not an EDM person, like electric music, electronic. But one of the people recommended that. And so I put it on there, but it's an hour-long set of straight EDM, one flowing, because when you go to a rave or whatever, you're just, dancing. But it actually is really kind of nice to have in the background while you're working. Because it's just kind of there and it's just kind of, it's like, it's upbeat. It's, get you kind of moving. I don't know.
Might take me back to my days before I was a mom and a wife. I don't
know. Mindy, what stories do we have to tell? All right, that's the other episode later. Okay.
Keeping it real.
Funny. That's funny. Well, thanks for answering and giving me those songs. I will definitely add them to the playlist and I'll share it with you. All right. And then last question, caffeinated beverage of choice. What's your go-to?
Oh, I'm a coffee girl.
Okay.
And Evan, right now, McDonald's, Irish mocha. is
Okay.
in season, and it's amazing.
Okay.
So
All
I
right. Do you get
it's
it iced? I mean, it's
um
iced, kind of an
it's
iced time of year for you.
been cold lately here. Today it's
Oh, okay.
beautiful. It's like 76 and amazing, and but it's been pretty chilly here, so iced no. When it's warm outside, I'll do iced coffee. And as silly as it sounds, I often forget about iced coffee. And then when I
Mm,
have one, I'm like, why don't I do this more often? But
yeah.
typically it's a hot beverage and it's coffee.
I'm not gonna lie. Being up in the Northwest, I don't think of McDonald's as coffee often.
They have the K cups. I don't go through McDonald's. I bought the K cups so I can make it at home. Make it, I like the sweet
Oh,
cream.
so you're using a K cup of the what is it? Irish?
Irish. I said Irish cream, but it's Irish mocha.
Huh. So
It's
it's just a
like
flavored coffee.
a Girl Scout Thin Mint.
Oh,
If you like Girl Scout Thin Mints, you will be all about this. Throw a little sweet cream, creamer in there.
okay.
Italian sweet cream. I do the sugar free because so I feel like I'm at least being a little healthy. I'm a two
Mm,
cup a day girl.
nice. Okay. I mean, I have a Keurig. I know. Sorry, everybody up in Seattle. I own a Keurig.
So you're Seattle's best. Is that or
No, I mean Starbucks is what is, based here and everything, but we have lots of different coffee companies and more craft coffee, if you will. A lot
Mhm.
of coffee shops, local coffee shops, a lot of different roasteries and all that. Anyways, it definitely is a thing if are in it, but I'm not that crazy about it.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
have
I
been to
like
the
coffee.
original Starbucks.
Okay.
I used
Pike
to,
Place.
yeah. Mhm.
Yep. Yeah, it's not much to look at. It's just a
Mm.
straight shot. There's no place to sit. It's just a space. Get your
Yeah.
coffee.
Yep. It was about 10 years ago, I think. I was up there for a trip to see a couple management companies, and we went by there. And it was at the time I was talking quite a bit about Howard Schultz and how
Mm,
he was, a pioneer on giving benefits to part time employees. And I
yeah.
just thought that was super neat. And so I went into that Starbucks with a different view and thinking about what he's changed and how much impact there has been. And there's so many more examples of that. And, he's kind of been back and forth. I think he's completely retired now, but I haven't been following it as much. But going there was so neat. And then, Evan, do you remember when Starbucks was hiring people and you would walk in and you're like, these are the best employees ever. If I need a salesperson, if I need somebody in customer service, I want to hire them. Not all locations are as great anymore, but
Yeah.
back in the day, the talent that they hired was just exceptional. And what they did for the coffee industry, I think is really cool. And we have so many
Yeah.
coffee lovers and craft coffees because of that phenomenon.
Yeah. I mean, when you put a coffee shop on every corner, yeah. It'll do that. That definitely wasn't a thing, having the coffee shop such a prevalent fixture. It was like I think what was more normal was more like a Dunkin' Donuts type of thing back in
Mhm.
the day. You get a donut and a coffee. That's what everybody thought. But
And it wasn't great coffee, but
yeah, yeah. So, anyways, all right. Well, I'll have to check out the McDonald's Irish
mocha.
uh, K cup.
Okay. Limited
Well,
edition, limited time.
that's
So,
true. I got to get on it. It's going to
you know.
disappear.
Mhm.
Yeah, my birthday is around this time, and I always forget about the Irish influence on March and stuff, and all the things that are happening. And I'm like, how do I forget that? It's my birthday.
When
Anyway,
is your birthday so we can fill you with birthday wishes?
this Saturday, March 1st.
March 1st. Well, happy
Yeah,
early birthday, Evan. Everybody
yeah.
tell
Thank you.
Evan happy early birthday.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. I've surpassed the milestone of 40. I'm 41, so not a big deal anymore.
Well, welcome to the Cool Kids Club.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. Well, thanks for answering my questions. Now we get right into all things Mindy, and I don't know how often you get to tell your story of like how you got in the industry and how where you started, how you got to where you are. I mean, you're now in a place where you have your own gig and you're doing your own thing, which is really awesome, but that's not always what you were doing. So how'd you get here?
So I originally was going to school for radio, TV broadcasting. I wanted to date myself. I wanted to be the next Lisa Milosky sportscaster, and that's what I wanted to do. And I wanted to end up going to Syracuse, and I was very, very focused on that. And one day after working my shift at a restaurant, I went in to pay my rent, and the manager said, "Hey, you've got, we've seen you in here a few times. You've got a nice personality. We're hiring for a part-time leasing agent. Would you be interested?" And I very nicely declined the offer. I was like, "Oh, well, thank you so much." But no, in the back of my mind, Evan, I was like, "Wow, apartments. I don't want to work at a complex."
Right.
It's like, no.
Yeah.
So I was nice. And I mean, it was neat for her to say that. I was 19. And so I go back to my apartment and I call my mom because I wanted my mom and dad to be proud of me for getting a job offer, because my mom was always very protective. So I've had a job since I was 16. And my mom even wanted to pay me to stay home for doing my chores so that I would not work, because I was driving from our little town about 15 miles up the road to the big city of Lake Jackson to work at the mall. And what my mom didn't know is my boyfriend at the time worked there. So of course I'm going to go work. I get to see more of him. But anyway, so I've had a job since then. And she was just very opinionated about what I was doing, and I appreciate it. And she approved of most of my jobs, except for that one that I had to make that drive for. And so I called her. I was like, "Hey, Mom, I just want to let you know I got a job offer today." And she's like, "You did?" I was like, "Yes." She was like, "Well, where?" I was like, "At my apartment complex." And she was like, "Oh my gosh, that means you don't have to drive. I don't have to worry about you, and yada, yada, yada." I was like, "Oh, no, 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 no." I turned it down. And Evan, she very nicely, in her mom ways, said, "Well, Mindy, if you don't march your tail back in there and accept that job, you're cut off. We will no longer pay for school or for books or help you with your rent if you need it."
Oh, wow.
So guess what I did? I marched my tail back in there and I was like, "Well, Miss Anita, I just wanted to find out, is the job still open?" And she was like, "It's been about 15 minutes. I think it is." So long story short, I start working as a part-time leasing professional, making $6.50 an hour.
Wow.
And I was good at leasing. I went through this 3-day boot camp up at Graystar. That's who hired me.
Okay.
And the training director's name, this is all important stuff, the training director's name was Carol Marple. And again, I had no idea I wanted to get into this industry, but I fell in love with this woman. She was so smart, the way she taught, the way she spoke about the industry. She made me realize that as a 19-year-old, I was helping run a multi-million-dollar asset. So if you ask me what I
Yeah,
did, I helped run a multi-million-dollar asset, and I was really
exactly.
proud of it. And the last day she went around, she was like, "Okay, what goals do you all have?" And Evan, I looked at her in the eyes and I said, "Carol, Miss Marple, don't take this the wrong way, but I don't want you to get fired, but I want your job." So, there's other layers to this onion, but let's just say within 3 months, I was working in the corporate marketing and training department.
Wow.
After only 3 months of being on site. Sometime y'all come up to me and ask me the other layers of the onion, because they're pretty funny, and I didn't used to share all the details, but they're good. But this is on to you. You can see me. It's going to be recorded.
I mean, it makes for a good show.
you
So,
know. So anyway, I literally was able to work at Graystar in marketing and training. At the time, it was really more of a glorified hop. What's the word? Like, I would move from place to place to place as a leasing person filling in.
oh, a
There's
traveling traveling
Yeah,
leasing agent?
something like that. And then as we started getting more properties and they saw that I liked writing brochures and content and doing balloon arches too, by the way.
Oh yeah.
Without the kits, I did the big balloon arches. And this was when Greystar was starting to build nice assets and get into some A-class stuff. So they would send me around to the different properties
Nice.
and I would help with opening up those properties. And it was amazing. And so that's literally how I got into the business. And when I left Greystar after about 4 years, I went to the supplier partner side to work for that company called For Rent. Some people may
Oh,
remember that. And it was back in the day of the book. And Stacy Hunt was so upset that I was taken by a supplier partner that he was going to not have all those ads in there. And so Robert Thompson, oh my gosh, please don't let me have gotten his name wrong. He unfortunately has passed away. He literally wrote Stacy a handwritten letter. And Stacy's like, all right, you can have our account, but Mindy's going to service it because I know she'll take care of us. So save the day that way. Learn at a very young age that you don't steal other employees from your clients, because if you do that, there could be some negative backlash from that. And so there is just an unspoken handshake sometimes that's out there. Go through the proper channels if you want to hire back and forth. That would be some advice that I have.
yeah.
And then I went back on the management side in that training director capacity, and then popped back over to the supplier side and was with Jay Turner for 11 years.
Yeah,
And
that's a long
then,
time.
yeah, it's a long time. So I've worn a few different hats and it has been wonderful. I never knew that this was a career that I wanted to have. I never knew the opportunities that it would provide to me. And one of the things that really also helped me, Evan, in growing, being the National Suppliers Council chair for the National Apartment Association, can't really go anywhere else on the supplier side. I did it. Like, that's so exciting. And I'm so honored. But it was about saying yes, and it was volunteering and building and networking and building relationships and referring business, whether it was to a competitor or to somebody that I was just helping. Like, I fell in love with this industry and it became family. And I'm so thankful for the career that I've had.
Yeah, and it makes so much sense now how comfortable you are, like on stage and even doing your podcast and all that. You wanted to be in broadcasting. Makes
So
sense.
yeah, so we live close to the beach, Surfside, not Galveston. And I can remember doing we had the old big cameras, and on the VHS tape, I can remember doing some live broadcasts for my college classes out there. And I wish I could find those and show my
Yeah.
kids and say, look what I thought I was going to do. Because now, Evan, probably your family and friends, we're in the apartment industry, and I know I do the apartment industry. I will never get away from that, but I'm also open to other industries with the skill sets that I have. But you say you're in the apartment industry, nobody gets it. They don't understand this $1 trillion industry that we're in, and the impact that it has. You say you're a sportscaster or a news anchor or anything like that, radio host, people understand that for the most part. Multifamily, what? One time, one of our friends, so my brother graduated from the Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs, and they had this amazing family that they would get set up with, that was like their family away from home, their sponsor parents. And there was Marianne messaged me on Facebook. She's like, you're always talking about this multifamily stuff. What are y'all moving in? Lots of people into like, what do? We think people get it, but outside of the industry, they don't understand what it is.
Right. No, they don't. Yeah. It's really hard when people ask what I do, for instance. It's like, I work in a software company. I mean, if I bring up parking, they're going to think I work at a parking garage or something like that. And it just, there's just too many layers to explain. So it's just
or they're going to ask you to find them an apartment.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. It's just like, okay, no. I think we'll just leave it at that. I work at software. I think you get that part.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very broad. And it's like, oh.
Yeah. Well, okay. So you left Jay Turner, then you had to stop before where you are now. I don't fully understand what you were just doing.
Yeah. So working for a company. So the company and the guy that I left Jay Turner for is who I left Jay Turner for. So I went back. So a lot of folks didn't know that.
Okay. So you went from a
Yeah, it was a
company
company
to
called
Jay
Liberty
Turner.
Real Estate Advisors.
Okay.
And we had an education side to our business. And at the time, the way we were raising money, I actually was a fully licensed stockbroker. I had like several different, like my Series 7, my 63, my 99, my 82, I think, and maybe one more. And so we were raising money to go and buy property, but we had this education side. So if somebody wanted to learn single family investing, we would teach them about that. Multifamily investing, if they wanted to do it on their own, because multifamily is 5 units or more, we would teach them that. Or if they wanted to passively invest, as long as they were qualified, we could allow them to invest with us. So then I left them and went to Jay Turner for 11 years. And then I went back to Trey, and the company was called Transformational Real Estate Investing. And we had the education side, and then we had the syndication side where we were, and they are still buying property. So I was there, and the focus became a little less on the education side and more on the syndication side, which is great. There are some incredible opportunities that are out there. So if, folks that are accredited investors, maybe people don't know, but you do have a lot of different alternative investments that you can invest in. Being a passive investor in multifamily is one of those. The focus really was more focused on buying the properties, which is great because the returns, if you buy the properties correctly, could be very, very good. But my passion is helping others, motivating others, going in and identifying areas of business. I like to say, and it sounds terrible, but why do your employees hate you? Well, I want to help somebody figure that out. Yeah. And then let's figure out, are you the problem? Are they the problem? Where is it at? And let's get past that so we can get back to hitting our goals and, those KPIs. And then also just, being able to motivate individuals and drive them in their careers and give guidance to somebody who is completely deathly afraid of public speaking. And, that can be speaking on stage, or that can be doing something like this, Evan. Everybody has it in them. It's about channeling the information and figuring out what your trigger points are. And then once you have identified that, then getting solutions to where you can step into that role and build that confidence, which is probably going to help you grow in your career. So I can help individuals, and then I can also help companies. And at the age that I am now, my last kiddo is a senior in high school. My oldest is a senior in college at A&M. They're both graduating in May. And so my husband and I talked, and I've got more time. We always said when we retired that we were going to buy a big RV and we were going to travel the country, and I would get gigs everywhere where I would speak every now and then for some fun money. Well, since I started my own company, we're not going to buy that RV right now. We're going to invest in the company. But this is my passion, and what a blessing that I just decided, take the chance, go for it, do it. There's no better time than right now. And if I didn't, I would always wonder. And since I'm only looking forward to how many people I can help and what it's going to look like in the future.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, there's so many people that could use that kind of coaching and help for sure. I'm sure I'm one of them.
I'll use the friends and family discount.
I'm doing my first speaking engagement live in person, but I'm doing it with 2 other people. I'm not doing it by myself. Okay. So I'm doing it with 2 people that are very trained. So you probably know Victoria Cowart.
Yeah.
So I'm doing it with her and Misty Rowell, who's up in my area.
Fantastic.
Both of them did the NAAEI faculty. They went through the training. I have not done that. So anyways, I have not done any speaking in that capacity, but Victoria has. So we'll be fine.
Well, you've got a great personality. You're passionate about the things that you talk about, and that's a huge component of that. And then having others around you, and it's kind of like that security blanket whenever you have two other panelists that are there with you, or however you have it set up. And then the more comfortable you get, and the more you figure out what your topics are and where your passion lies, it just becomes easier and easier and easier if it's something that you want to pursue.
Yeah. Well, and I've found even doing this, as long as and this is why when I have people that never have been on anything before, I always am focusing on what their passions are, because I want them to feel at ease and feel like they're confident in what they are saying, because it's what they are passionate about, what they have strong feelings about, what they're, want to convey to other people. It's a great way to start, because when people are talking about things they're kind of murky about, obviously you're going to get more nervous. You're going to feel kind of like you're lying, I guess, or, so that's always why I start like that.
Well, I love it. And so are you speaking at NAA Apartmentalize, or where is this?
Oh, no. Oh. Not for my first baby steps. No, we're doing EdCon, which is in Washington. It's our WMFA, Washington Multifamily Housing Association conference.
Nice.
And so, yeah, I'm doing that. That's coming up in March.
Fantastic.
So, so we'll see how it goes. If I completely bomb, I might be giving you a call.
You will. You will. It's going to be great.
Yeah. Need to practice. Need to make sure I'm succinct in what I'm saying, because I'm sure I'll go really long if I do not do that.
And that's important, to stay on task and not see a squirrel. Or a lot of times there's so much information that we want to give.
Yeah.
And you can overwhelm your audience. I have been guilty of doing that. Like, this is, trial and error and figuring things out. What you just said, Evan, is key. Practice. I challenge everyone, when you have a meeting with somebody that's important, if you are asking for a raise, if you are going in for an interview, or if you are looking for a promotion, if you are presenting to a client, if you are doing a presentation like you are, Evan, you want to practice a minimum of 10 times. And I challenge you to practice in front of the mirror several of those times. Record yourself on here, like go into Zoom and record, or whatever you use through work or personally. Record yourself. You've got to listen back. It is painful. But you have to do that. And then also record yourself on your phone. And if you do that and you like it, then while you're driving, you can also listen to it. And then keep a notepad by you. If you have an aha moment, or you think you should have said something, write it down, walk away from it, and then come back and decide, is it really important? And that will help you with it. But practice a minimum of 10 times. Lots of folks have great ambition, but they won't put in the work for the 10 times. They'll do 2 or 3, and then they get off stage or whatever they did. They're like, man, I wish I would have practiced more.
Okay. I will take that advice. I will embrace it fully. I will say I'm very used to watching myself and being critical. I edit this. I've been doing it for almost 3 years. It's almost kind of why I sometimes take breaks, because I'm like, I don't want to look at myself anymore. It's a little much, but yeah, no, it's important. And it's also been very helpful. I'm just going to, I guess, reiterate what you're saying. I've found that there's things that I've adjusted, because I used to sit, and I don't sit anymore because I'm a pretty laid back person. And if I sit down, I just kind of become, very interesting. So I'm like, in order to stay engaged and kind of have energy, I stand up. So I always do this standing now. And that's just my trick, because I know I need to do that to kind of maintain, I guess, focus, or whatever you want to call it.
And I like it, because the way my camera is, here's something else too. So sometimes I try to put, it's weird if I adjusted it now live, that'd be kind of, who knows what would happen. But Lisa Trozine I paid her
Hmm.
to be a coach in the past. I adore her. And I said, who's going to be literally who am I afraid of? I'm not afraid of her. When they called and I got to be with the All-Stars, it was really amazing. Like, it was a lifelong career goal. But one of the things that she told me was, you don't want to look like a talking head. And so
Hmm.
she's like, use your hands sometimes. Don't talk so much, because I tend to talk too much sometimes with my hands. But you want to move. And I will
Yeah.
say, Evan, whenever I start my own podcast, when I'm at a point that I'm ready to do that again, I will probably, even though you didn't think of it as advice, but your words of wisdom that you just said of standing up and the way you're moving, like, it looks very natural. It feels good. I didn't know if you were sitting or standing until you
Yeah.
just said that. I love it. Like, I like
Yeah.
it better than where I'm at now, because you just kind of like a bobblehead
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
otherwise,
Yeah. It brings a little more
or
energy.
too relaxed, like you said too.
Yeah. 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 If I'm sitting, it's just kind of like, and that's where I know for a fact when we're doing our session, I am not going to sit. Like, if I sit, if they have the panel and they have the chairs and all that, I know I'm just going to be way too like, yeah. So like, you can't do that.
Yeah. And knowing those two, they'll be okay with standing and, rolling with whatever makes the most sense for everybody.
Yeah, I don't even think they do chairs for Woomfa. I think they just, you're up there in front of a screen, basically. So, but yeah. So I'll report back. We'll see how
Okay.
how it all goes.
I
But
will
I
I will
think,
hold you accountable. I want to hear about it.
yeah, I appreciate the little tidbits though. Those are very helpful, and
Mhm.
I'll take them to heart when I'm
Yeah.
preparing, because
And
it's
I
gonna.
hope our audience can too, because literally whatever the presentation is, whatever your why is, why are you trying to accomplish something? And if it involves words, practice.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, and I have the problem of, like, I think about things too much, and then
Mm,
I think, "Oh, it's all up here, I'm good."
yeah.
But if you never let them out of your mouth, then you're a jumble.
Hmm.
So, it's gotta come out a few times to be like, "Okay, now I'm succinct, I'm clear, people will understand what I'm trying to say."
Hmm. And
Yeah.
you're a go-getter, but there's a lot of folks, Evan, that are incredibly talented, but they're over analytical, or they're overly hard and critical on themselves. And so they never actually start. They never actually
Mm,
get to where they want to be, because they're held back by, what are people going to say about me? Are they going to judge me? Are they going to like it? What if I say the wrong thing? You're the expert. Nobody knows what's about to come out of your mouth.
yeah,
And as long as you are not malicious, if you accidentally gave wrong information, own up to it.
yeah.
But just always remember. So we first had our real estate roundtable radio show on AM radio. Gary Blumberg was my co-host for about 6 weeks, because there were investment questions that I like, and certain things about underwriting and multifamily that I didn't understand. And we were live on the radio, and I was worried, what if somebody calls in that is a competitor and they are trying to stump me and I don't have the right answer? I was so nervous. So Gary was there. We were, so yin and yang. It was great. You had my more bubbly voice and you had his more calm, and just very mellow, serious accounting voice, and great guy. And he said, Mindy, get out of your head. You're the expert. Speak like an expert. Nobody knows what you're about to say. And that was about 13 years ago, Evan. Some of the best advice I ever got.
No, that's really great. 'Cause I'm getting, as I'm leading up to this event, you start going, am I even qualified to be talking about what I'm going to talk about? And it's like, well, I've been at this company for 5 years. I really hope so. Like,
And it is okay to say, great question. I don't know.
yeah,
Let me get
yeah,
back to you. What a great way
yeah,
to follow up, too.
yeah. Because I have other people in my company that are the expert in specific things. I don't know everything. So I can be like, oh, no, that's a great question for so and so, But yeah, own what you don't know, right? And
Yes.
it's okay. You don't need, it doesn't make you look silly. You just don't pretend like you know when you don't know. How about that?
Oh, I don't know about you, but early on in my career, I made that mistake. Whew, learning
Yeah.
school of hard knocks.
Yeah. There was There was a time I had a boss come work with me, and we were talking to a store manager, and this person was going on and on. We were asking questions, and they had an answer for everything. And we leave, and my boss is like, "That person lies about just about everything. There's no way they know everything. When I ask a question and they have an answer for every single thing you ask, you know that they're just making stuff up on the spot."
Yeah.
So there's things you don't know.
There's things you don't know. And you know what? Sometimes you're a little annoying when you are the know it all. Give
Yeah.
others time to speak.
Yeah.
Because if you listen more than you speak, people will listen and you'll have a greater impact.
Yes, for sure. So I do want to dig in a little bit more on your new business
Okay.
and what I know you're trying to do coaching and things like that. What is there anything specific that you want to really hone in on? Like, for sure, this is what you're about. This is what you want to do. Because I know you wanted to really focus on the things about education and mentorship, and volunteering is a big bright spot too.
Yeah. So how I have wanted to start, I wanted to start this company. It's been a dream of mine since I was in high school. I didn't know the name of the company yet. And I decided to make it a company instead of Mindy Price Consulting and Speaking, or Speaking and Consulting, or just using my name, because I feel like it's bigger than me. And I hope that I can grow it to, have multiple individuals who are talented in different ways and strong in areas that I'm not. And it's beyond me. And so while I'm very well known to a number of folks in the multifamily industry, I'm not known outside of the industry. And I think what my goal is that we'll talk about, it's not limited to that. Now,
Mm,
my low hanging fruit, my favorite people, my family is in the apartment industry on the owner operator side and on the supplier partner side. I can help both, but I can help any company really. But how the name of the company came about instead of MMP or Mindy May Price or Mindy Price Consulting, was whenever I knew I was going into the role of chair for the National Supplier Council. And each chair chooses a theme, if you would, for their year ahead. And for me, I kept asking the question, why? And it's a little annoying. My family will tell you, she's always says, why? And I'm like, for anything you say, I'm going to say why. And I want to dig into it more. And so Priscilla and Nick over at the National Apartment Association are liaisons for the NSC. I was like, why should somebody join the National Suppliers Council? Why is it important to be active? Why should someone donate to the PAC? And one of
yeah.
my big hot buttons, Evan, and I hope this all draws back to my company for the why, but is, you get involved in an apartment association and you hear them say, donate to the PAC, donate to the PAC. PAC is Political Action Committee. And
Mhm.
it used to drive me nuts because they would never explain the why in the
Mm,
past. It was just give us money, and I would tune them out. Here's my
right.
novel, $100, or whatever amount I was giving. So then when I really started to understand and lobby in Capitol Day for Texas and for the National Association, I realized, oh my gosh, there's negative legislation that can impact our industry. And as an
Mm,
owner operator, this could, hurt my livelihood.
right.
And as a supplier partner, this could hurt my livelihood if
Mhm.
these negative things happen. And so I wanted to answer that question, why? And then one day I was sitting down and it hit me. And I was like, inside the why. We need to dig inside the why. It's more. And, I think it's Simon Sinek has something about the why. I need to read his book.
Mhm.
So he told me about it. I haven't even read that book. It's just, it hit me. And then I need to be careful that I'm not taking his ideas, but mine is more of digging inside the why. Why do you want to become a great speaker? Why do you want to grow in your organization? Why are you unsuccessful at finishing a project? There's a lot of why questions that are out there, and then really sitting in and digging inside. And I always like to reference the onion. There's so many layers to the onion. And let's figure out the one that's holding you back, because you may very well think it's something over here when it's actually something over here. And helping others figure that out is part of what I want to do. But then the speaking side of things and emceeing, I love, that's just something I've always loved since I was in high school. Put me in front of a group of 1,000 people, great. Put me in front of 2, I'm like, oh, this is awkward. But I've always loved that. But I also not only want to, if I'm helping a company and I'm going in and let's say I'm working with a sales group and I'm motivating them and inspiring them and giving them nuggets of information that they can implement. Well, then I want to work backstage with that company and I want to help them with their KPIs and how they're measuring that success versus just motivating someone and then walking away and going, okay, hope you enjoyed it. How many times do you go to a conference, you're like on fire, and 2 days later you're back in that role of whatever it is, and you're not thinking about all of that stuff. And so I hope at Inside the Why we can have more of an impact that's lasting and measurable versus just very surface level.
Yeah, that's really great. And as you were talking, I was thinking about like the fact that you were doing a podcast, you did all these speaking engagements. Obviously that gave you more trust built within the industry and all that kind of stuff. But then there's purpose behind it. Obviously it's to help sell. It's to help, like there's other things that are, yes, it's good for the industry, but also it helps in this capacity for your job. You're like,
absolutely,
you wouldn't do it otherwise, right? Yeah. Like there's a give and take. There's a reason.
Yeah.
So there is definitely a why.
Absolutely. I mean, as a salesperson, if you're up there speaking because you're expert in some subject matter or whatever it is that you're speaking on, and then you happen to have an audience that could be a client and you call them, the likelihood of them returning your email or call is a little higher because there's some sort of familiarity. There's a trust that is given as long as you are giving good information and you're portraying that person that they can trust. It absolutely has helped my business.
Right. Exactly. No, that's cool. And I'm sure it takes some nuance to do that. I know that's similar to like Victoria, for instance. She does a lot of education, a lot of speaking engagements, but it also helps her when it comes to selling the product that she represents. And, I think there is a skill to make that transition though. Like, because you don't want to come across like a bait and switch. You don't want to come across like, oh, I'm only here to sell you. You want to maintain the trust. So, be interesting to talk to you about that actually. Cause
absolutely.
I think it's something I'm very much concerned about always is like, I don't want people to ever feel like that's what I'm doing to them, through this medium or whatever I'm doing. That I only care about selling them,
Yeah.
So
it's building the trust. We didn't really talk about your company and what you do. I know in the beginning you say a little bit about what you all do. When you're speaking on a national stage like I do, before it was never about my product. It was always about whatever the topic was, whatever the session was about, whatever I was trying to educate them on with things that they can implement. And then as an aside, I have this role at this company if you want to get in touch with me. So it's not about selling, it's about giving back and truly helping others. And in my opinion, somebody who really wants to help others, that success and paying it forward should hopefully come easier than, because if you fake it, people know. If you're genuine, they just know. And let's face it, sales is not for everybody.
Yeah. It's not. And my job's not necessarily sales. I'm marketing, but it's supporting sales, so.
Oh, there's that. Ooh, is it marketing? Is it sales? Whose fault is it? Are you giving us enough leads? Are you closing them out? Are you calling on them on time? Is the copyright? I mean, it's like
yeah, it's a fun relationship.
Yes. And one cannot work without the other.
Oh, yeah. But it's always the other person's fault.
You own up to it, I'm sure. But I know, fun conversations.
Oh man.
What is that, Urkel? Did I do that?
Yeah. It's funny because it's literally every company's dynamic.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
Very much. For mine, I'm playing both sides. So if I'm upset with myself, I'm upset with myself. I can do
that's
better.
true. Yeah. But you do have aspirations to kind of grow it and to hopefully add a few people here as you do that.
I do. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so you also have the mindset of maybe it makes sense to do this outside of this specific industry, not that you want to outright leave it, but if you can be helpful to people that are, in maybe parallel industries that are similar in they're like real estate but not multifamily, or whatever.
Mhm. Yeah, I
Yeah.
booked my first gig with the Houston Association of Realtors. So not multifamily, but in the real estate industry, which is exciting. And,
Yeah.
Evan, quite frankly, to achieve the level of income and success that I have had, I have to look outside the industry too a little bit, as it grows and not be limiting.
Yeah.
I don't know what this looks like a year from now. I
Yeah.
have a business plan. I'm very excited, but I'm also a realist, and I will listen to what the market is telling me. And wherever I find that I can have the greatest impact in helping others, that's where my focus will be.
Yeah. Well, I wish you all the best of luck in that. Jumping out on your own is exhilarating and also terrifying.
Yes. Well said. Well said.
Because what if nobody wants it? It's like, yeah, you're putting yourself out there. That's a big deal. That is a huge, like, you just don't know until you start going about it. But I know a few people have done this now. It seems like there's quite a few that are
There's some
starting to do this.
exceptional people. Yes.
Yeah.
Exciting.
So hey, at least it's a good example that it can be done, and they've still been doing it for like a year plus. So
Yes.
good sign.
Yes. And there have been some that I've talked to. One of the things I told you is people are not competitors. They're opportunities to
Yeah.
help them, opportunities to help yourself. And there's a number of folks that I've talked to that are thinking about doing it. And I've told them, look, I'm brand new to doing this. I hope I set up my LLC the right way. I hope I did all of these things. I'm learning. Whatever I mess up, I will share that with you so you can
Yeah.
save yourself the trouble. The things that I do well, or, if I find there's a better way, I want to share that. And I just hope that, you would share that with me too, because there is enough business that's out there. And the more we can help each other, the more we can elevate this thing of, owning your own company and building something that can have a bigger impact on others.
Yeah, you're right. Although we always say it's a small industry, it's not that small. And it's also what you're trying to provide is different than somebody else. It's not going to be the same. And everybody's always needing a different perspective, a different help in some capacity. So I don't foresee there being like crazy overlap for you compared to other people, because you're going to bring something a little different.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's right.
that's awesome. And you're going to continue on the national stage when it comes to NAA and all that good stuff?
I am. I actually did not submit to speak for this year. So I won't.
Okay.
This is my first time not speaking at Apartmentalize in I don't know how long. And it was just, I was so busy with the other job. There was just no time to even think about that. So, as a board member of NAA and on the NSC, I will be there with bells on, and I will be cheering everybody on and attending as many sessions as I can to just learn, because constantly learning. I always think if I don't learn something in a day, I kind of wasted that day, because I don't know everything, and I'm constantly learning and looking forward to it. But yes, I will continue to be around, and I love this industry. I wouldn't be where I am today in this industry, and it's just been so good to my family. And wow, all those years ago, part-time leasing person.
Yeah.
No clue.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Well, and it's a good reminder to other people that you got to stick with it, have a plan, have goals. It's always a good reminder to me too, to always be looking at, well, what do I want to do with this kind of stuff? Where do I want to go next? So
what do I want to do? Why do I want to do it?
That's right.
Why?
Exactly.
Add
Yeah.
that.
Not just because it's there. Yeah, it
Right.
won't. That's fleeting and doesn't last. I know that
Mhm.
much. You know, it just fell in my lap. So yeah, you'll do that for like a year.
Why did it fall in your lap? There's probably something you're not thinking about, and if you honed in on that, it may become even better.
Yeah, yeah. There's been a lot of things that have fallen in my lap, and I did run with it, and I think there was more behind it than just
Well, and
thinking it
what our
negative
audience
or
didn't
in the beginning.
hear is you mentioned to me whenever we were backstage, if you would,
Yeah.
that you were working for an organization basically pro bono until
Oh
you
yeah.
built it up.
Yeah.
And Evan, there's probably a lot of things that have come to you because of what you've done and because of the selflessness that you had that have propelled you and you don't even realize it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it taught me a lot. That's for sure. but yeah, I think you're right. I think and it was all in this industry. It taught me a lot. It also set certain expectations, and not to think that I should just expect things. That you got to work for it. So. Well, Mindy, I really do appreciate you jumping on with me and getting on Boss Talks with me after so long. Oh, and just as a throwback,
Oh,
sits on my
oh,
desk.
look at that. Love it.
Mindy sent that to me back when I was a guest. I think I was guest like 21 or something.
I
It
think
was
so.
me. It was me and Marcus.
Yes.
So I think you'd been doing it for like roughly a year, maybe a little less than a year.
Because it
I
was
don't
every other
remember.
week.
Okay. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, anyways, yeah. Yeah. It's wild. It's wild to think about that. And then you did it for 3-ish years.
I don't even remember. So I know, like, I don't know. We did it for a while.
Yeah. Yeah. But, anyways,
That
it
would
was
be,
great.
I would say, I would, had I to do all over again, I would do the video,
Oh, okay.
you know,
Yeah.
because you can take the audio and the video, and there's a lot of things that you can do with it.
Yeah. I think things have evolved so much even since you started that
Yes.
back when you were doing it, I don't know that it had gotten to a place where it was a good enough platform.
Now you're making me feel like really old.
Oh, I mean, this was like 5 years ago. It's just
I know
crazy
things
how
change.
quickly things move, though,
Yes.
And I think the pandemic did that, right? Like it made it kind of skyrocket.
Yes. Yeah, it is they're so different. There's so many different platforms that you can use now. And like
Yeah.
it would just to have that option. And then if, having the flexibility, if a guest could not go on video for whatever reason, you could still record with them. But I
Right.
think
Right.
that when I do my new one, who knows what it's going to be,
Yeah.
and when. I got a lot on my plate. I'm trying not to throw everything at the wall and see what sticks right now. I'm trying to be very laser focused and fine tuning a lot of stuff.
Maybe
But
just do something once a month.
in the
That way
beginning,
it's a manageable cadence,
hmm
and you can.
get ambitious from there.
Yeah. 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 Well, again, thank you so much for being on. Thanks for those that did jump on. I hope anybody that watches this in the future, that you get a lot out of it, and any of the tips and tidbits that she did share, you apply them and use those to your advantage. If you have any further needs for what she was bringing up, reach out to Mindy. She's for hire.
Yes,
Go right to her, and she's got some great tips, I'm sure, to share with you.
I
So
know my email is super easy, Mindy@insidethewhy.com, but spell out why,
there you go.
W-Y.
There you go. Perfect. Yeah, do it. All right. Well, just like Mindy joined me on Boss Talks, you too can be a guest. This is a platform for all those in the multifamily space when it comes to both the supplier and property management side of things. And I like to have any and all people when it comes to your role, your reason, your why. I love to hear your story. So don't worry about being fresh in the industry or CEO of a company, I like to talk to everybody. So let's make it happen. All right, guys. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, Evan.